Hello, everybody live on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere else on the web. My name is Josh Oakes, and boy, today do we have something fun for you. I'm coming at you live from Los Angeles, Santa Monica, California, but we have three experts here that are going to talk about something important for your kids. When do they get their first email address? Boy, is this a big topic because that gives access to people to talk to your kids directly. So I've got people from Maryland, Austin, Texas, New York City, and me in Santa Monica. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about some best tips. And you might hear some surprising tips that you didn't expect. So we're going to go into that real quick here. But before we do, I have something really cool that I got to tell you about that moms all over the country have been calling me about. We have something called Parent University. There's a link below, above, or anywhere on the page that you're watching this on right now. Parent University has a subset within it that is wildly successful right now, and they're videos that you watch with your kids. One of the videos is called How to Get Kicked Out of Harvard, and it talks to your kids. It goes, hey, your parents aren't the bad people. Let's tell you the case study of how people got accepted, and then they got kicked out because of what they did online. You know, your kids' dialogue is one of the biggest things, and we want to give you resources so you can watch with them. So no longer are you the bad guy, the bad mom, the bad dad, but Josh's team is with little case studies that you can, for 3 minutes to 7 minutes, you can watch with your kid, and then you can dialogue with them about it. If you show them the steps where things happen and you treat them like adults, this is our belief, then all of a sudden they go, you know what, my mom isn't wrong. This other source is saying that this is exactly how it happens. My mom didn't have to tell me that. Now I can make the decision on my own. I know what it looks like where things go bad. So that's called Parent University. I'm so pumped to have 20 videos you can show your kids. It's like a menu of, I'm seeing my kids in this area do bad things. Let's walk them through this dialogue and this video from Josh's team. So that's called Parent University. All right, back over to our podcast here today. First, I have Brian from Austin, Texas. Brian, you're the founder and CEO of the BLF Foundation. Talk to us about, you've got 3 tips about giving kids their first email address. First, give us your first tip, please.
Definitely. So when having an email address, it's very important for a child to be able to just establish their brand. So you want to do it early, something in their preteens, because what happens down the road if Johnny Sue's name is taken? Well, that hurts them when they go applying for jobs, when they want to be able to have that professional brand name.
Yeah.
But not only that, you want to be able to have it for longevity purposes. So if you start something when they're 13, it can carry with them when they're 16, 18, 21, something that's going to carry longevity. Because your brand is your identity, and you want to make sure to protect it, because you never know. Your 13-year-old child may end up becoming a leader of the world. They may end up becoming a big CEO, but you don't want them to have somebody that can tarnish their image. But third and most importantly, it's going to give them a good opportunity for you as a parent to teach your children how to use responsible communication. So this is your opportunity to teach them how to use email effectively, starting them early, giving them chances to be able to go in, make mistakes, but have coaching and teachable moments, so that when they're in their 20s and they go into their corporate careers, they already have a good experience.
That's great. Your 3 tips. I love that. Grab your child's brand name early. And then next, you want to build the right email address for longevity. And 3, mold them into people that are using email properly. All right, next we're jumping over to New York City. One of my favorite people, Jeff Irvine, and he's with Bridget. He's the founder and CEO of Bridget, which is a piece of technology and just a whole cultural shift at schools. You'll see him on future podcasts and episodes. I like his take on things. Jeff, welcome to the podcast. Talk to us about your tip. You believe it's in 4th grade when they should get an email address. Why is that?
Josh, thanks for having me today. What we found is that the kids are now getting plugged in, usually around 4th grade at the schools, into email addresses, not in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. So at that point in time, you really need to then have the lessons and the guidance on how to use it, when to use it, and taking the first steps with email.
That's great. So fourth grade. Now talk to us just really quickly about, actually, I'm going to come back to you, Jeff. We're going to talk about the clear communication on your next tip. But first, we're going to jump over to Maryland. We've got Felicia Meadows over there. She's a school counselor. Felicia, you talk about a different age the students should get an email address. What is that age? And then what's the most important things that parents can do to keep the kids safe?
Well, my suggestion is 7th or 8th grade, even though we know young people are getting them much earlier than 7th or 8th grade. I say 13. just for the maturation piece, maturity-wise, being able to understand how to use it responsibly, knowing what email is used for.
Mm-hmm.
And parents still need to monitor because as we've seen and we hear all the time, especially on social media or on the news, that there are a lot of children's games that kids sign up for,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to be 13 when you sign up for them, but we know kids tell stories, they go and change their age, manipulate things, and then they have an email address that they're supposed to subscribe to, and there's a lot of adult content that may come into that email, and parents are thinking it's innocent because my child is playing this a child's game, or they signed up for something that children do. But emails, there's a lot of spam that comes in, a lot of adult content, and parents really, really need to monitor at any age, really, of course, minors, really need to monitor the content that their children are receiving via email.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was in a speech yesterday. There were law enforcement officers in there, and there were people from the city of Pomona, California that run the city. And we did a micro session, taught them all the bad apps, the medium apps, and the good apps.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, if you give your kids at 16 a car, do you have the right to keep those keys? And they all went, heck yeah, you have a right to have the keys because it could hurt somebody. Great. And I said, do you have the right to check the trunk to make sure there's nothing in there that the kid's friends put in there or kid put in there that's illegal? And everybody went, heck yeah, you do. Right. And I was getting to the fact that do you have the right to check their email address and have their passcode, which most of us believe is yes. But when I said, do you have the right to check the trunk for anything illegal, one of the guys in the back of the room said, now, isn't that an invasion of privacy? And we all went in an uproar. I mean, the police officer was like, what the heck? You're the problem. And the dad went, you know what? I now see and we had a big dialogue. And that's why we're all doing this here today, is because we all think, we don't want to be too overbearing. But at the same time, Felicia, you bring up a great point, and we're going to get to Jeff here in just a moment. There are so many bad people out there, and there's so many choices. Your child at a very young wisdom level, as I call it, they don't have the wisdom that all of us have. They're making decisions based on very limited experiences in their life. They need you to check in and help. They won't say it. They won't love it. And you might be a great parent, even if your kids dislike you once a month a lot. That means you're being a good parent. Jeff, we're back over to you. You talk a little bit about clear communication back to the parents, and you'd have a technique on shame. Talk to us about that.
Look, being a parent is all about guidance, right? In the playground, at home, at the dinner table, around tools, all of that, right? The internet's another tool. Email's another tool, and it can be very powerful, and it's a powerful communication tool. And so, but things can go very wrong in email, as Felicia was pointing out. And when things go very wrong, often younger kids don't have the confidence to say, hey, mom or dad, I just clicked on a porn site, or someone just sent me a link to this.
Yeah.
And how do I get rid of it? It's now affecting my browser. And so you have to have a clear communication channel back to the parents. The parents, when they set them up, have to be a part of it. And they have to say, hey, if things go wrong, no matter how bad, you need to come to me because I can help fix it. And that interpersonal communication always has to be there. It's the most
I love that, Jeff. I'm hearing that tip from all of you, but that is so important. We tell people the number one safety app is really the parents, the dialogue. And then the number one safety app on the web is parents having a healthy dialogue with their kids. All right, we talked about a lot. We talked about different age groups, right? Jeff said 4th grade, and then we had 13 years. Felicia, you said 13 years old. And I think, Brian, you said something around there as well, 13 years old. And it really comes back to the parents. I want to give all of you kind of just a round robin opportunity to do one more. Is there anything that you've ever heard about digital safety online where parents will say, well, I heard this? In some of our other broadcasts, people say, it's a college prep broadcast maybe where we have other experts, and the parents will come up to them and say, I heard that if you apply way later, you have a much better chance to get in. And the expert goes, actually, no, you want to apply early and you want to be able to know that Murphy's Law is going to kick in and something's going to go wrong. Do you guys have any I heards? And Felicia, we can start with you because you see a lot of students every day as a school counselor. What do you hear in Maryland as I heard that this is something that we should do? I'll let any one of you go first and raise your hand.
You mean in terms of around, the email or social media piece, or what parents are saying, Josh, about, just in general?
Just in general. Is there anything digital safety-wise that I heard?
Well, what I know for a fact is that, I'm sure we all know this too, that social media, we can't keep up with social media because every time you look up, there's something new that's happening. And to be honest, even though I deal with, I'm in middle school now, I've been in middle school for the last 15 years. Um, Even though I'm hip, like kids are hip to, what's coming up, I don't know how to use a lot of the apps that are coming up, and they come up so frequently. And a lot of parents are not tech savvy, even email wise. I have parents, the school I'm in now, we have a very large Hispanic population. And most of those parents do not have computers at home. They don't have access, but their kids have access.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes an issue too, trying to get parents on board with what's happening, because a lot of this stuff happens and you're calling a parent, you're telling them, look, your child at A, B, C, and D. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? My child doesn't even have that. Yes, they do. I'm telling you right here, I have it. I'm showing you verbatim what they're doing, and parents have no clue. So I think a lot of it is, I mean, you know how every generation is, I don't know what this generation is doing, and they're trying to figure stuff out. It happened when we were growing up too. But the thing is that social media and the availability is so rapidly changing, it's hard to keep up. And a lot of parents just aren't savvy to what's happening out here.
Yeah, I
They're
like
just
that.
not
And
savvy.
oftentimes they're not where their kids are at too. We're seeing that a lot. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
technologically advanced. Hey, Jeff, we're jumping over to you now. What's one of the bigger things? You talk a lot about school culture. You talk about changing that school culture. What's something that you hear that is a misconception?
That that the schools are actually out there on top of this, and they're managing it, and they want to manage it. And the reality is that they don't. And so, at the end of the day, they don't have the tools, they don't have the time to really address all these issues that manifest themselves in the schools. And so, everyone wants to put the burden on the teachers and the principals, but people have to come together to solve this problem. And it's not it's it starts at home or online or on one directional communication, and then works its way into the school community, and then it makes it back to the parents in another form, and then the parents get upset. So I think that the approach and the attitude towards the responsibility around these types of communications has to change. We have to shift.
Yeah, that's very wise. All right. So I like what you're talking about. All these teachers, they get, and principals and deans of students, they get more and more responsibility. A lot of parents will say, well, you're supposed to be the digital expert. My kids are with you 6 hours a day, right? And I agree with you. That's not exactly fair. Everybody has to come together. Okay, Brian, we're back over to you, my friend in Austin, Texas. What's something you're hearing a lot of parents say that's a misconception? Something that's like, that's not exactly right. We got to talk about the real truth.
Yeah. So one of the things that I hear often is that there's not social controls that can be able to kind of filter out certain requests. And what I found from a lot of social media platforms, it's maybe just an education piece that's missing because there are a lot of filters and things that these social media networks and tools use. For instance, Gmail has a lot of filtering tools. You can even delegate your email to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So for a parent, being able to set up those types of controls and limits allows them, one, to be able to still teach their children responsibility, which is important, because I think if we have a lack of giving them chances to be responsible as they grow into adulthood, they won't really have the experiences they need to be responsible. But there are controls that you can put in place so that you can give limits, and then slowly over time, you want to release those limits so that your children can be able to make great decisions, and especially at critical moments for themselves, especially when they grow up and get out of the house, when it's going to be really important for them to be able to utilize all of their experiences and knowledge through those different experiences that you gave them as a child to really make decisions for their own life.
That's very wise. I like that. Okay, we're going to leave you guys with this. One, when you give your kids an email address, consider a Gmail. Most kids in the schools that I speak to have one. Two, there is a thing in the settings where you can forward all incoming mail to one of the parents or both parents. You can forward it all so that you're getting a copy of it. You as parents in your inbox, you can label it so you can have a little bucket that doesn't overwhelm you. You can go check on it every day to see what's going on, and you'll always have a copy of your kid's inbox. I even do that with some employees or extra stuff. I've always got it in a little bucket, and we tell them, look, we're going to get a copy so that I can search and I can help you. I'm here as a resource. So just know that Gmail has that. It's pretty easy. Okay, I am so thankful to everybody that's on here today. One more just little shout out. I want to teach you I want to teach your family how to get kicked out of Harvard, how to search for your kids online the way a college will. I want to talk to your kids with you next to you, parents. And I want to teach you or show them as a different source, as a lot of moms say, exactly the positive sides of social and what can go bad. But rather than me just generically telling them, we want to show them a case study. Hey, look, here's Sally or here's Billy. Here's what they did. Here's what's going on. Oh no, they sent this tweet and here's what happened in the waterfall of sequences that just happened. I'd love to get the chance to do that with you. You can try Parent University for $1 for 7 days to give it a try. Then it's $9 a month after that. It's this fall. We're really doing a promotion to bring as many parents online as possible so they can watch our videos in the convenience of Facebook or in our members area, and they can bring their kids up to speed. As all of our experts just said, it is really an education thing. It takes a little bit of time to be where your kids are at, and we want to be a part of that conversation that you guys have. Hey, Jeff, Brian, Felicia, thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm so thankful for all of you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
All of you that are listening in internet land, I'm so thankful for you. As always, please consider showing your kids that being light, bright, and polite online is important, because everything you do, those little eyes are watching and they're behaving exactly the way you are. And bring a lot of really smart people around your children. It does take a community and a whole village to lead that child and to give them great behaviors. I'm Josh with SmartSocial.com. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll talk to all of you very soon. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care.